This video is about coincidences. Some coincidences are so extraordinary that you can hardly believe them. I have collected some stories that, to my knowledge, really happened. A scientist who researched this was Carl Gustav Jung. I will tell you more about his theory at the end of this video. The following story is from the book, Incredible Coincidence, The Baffling World of Synchronicity, by Alan Vaughan. In 1953, an American businessman named George D. Bryson was traveling from St. Louis to New York. He decided to pause his trip in Louisville in the state of Kentucky, because he had never been to that city before. At the train station, he inquired about a good hotel, and they referred him to Hotel Brown. He went there and registered. When they handed him the key to room 307, he jokingly asked if there was any mail for him. To his amazement and shock, the receptionist handed him, without saying anything, a letter addressed to Mr. George D. Bryson, room 307. Further investigation revealed that the last hotel guest of room 307 had also been named George D. Bryson, and worked at a company in Montreal. The Challenge of Chance, written by Sir Alister Hardy, Robert Harvey, and Arthur Koestler, was published in London in 1973. One of the examples in this book was about a scholar who was editing a scientific essay for publication. The man died suddenly. He had left a letter to his son, requesting that he complete his work in the event of his untimely death. It took the son 6 months of hard work to complete the task. Finally, he was left with the most difficult issue to answer. It involved a reference to one of the 36 volumes of the Holy Books of the East, but which part? He had no idea. As a last resort, he decided to bring home 3 books that his father had borrowed from the library. As he sat in his study late at night, he sighed, "Father, can't you help me?" Then he chose a random book and opened it to the exact page he needed. Another event from that book concerned a man who had bought a house from 2 elderly ladies on the condition that a certain painting should never be removed from its place. And there it remained until the man sold the house a few years later and took the painting to auction. The new owner of the house, who knew nothing about the painting, bought it and hung it in the place where it belonged. The following example comes from a book by Charles Berlitz called World of the Incredible but True. This specific story went viral on the internet several years ago. It concerns 3 ships that went down in the Menai Strait off the coast of Wales. The first ship sank on December 5, 1664. Only one of the 81 passengers, Hugh Williams, survived the disaster. On December 5, 1785, 121 years later, another ship sank in the Strait of Menai, and again all but one of the passengers perished. The name of that one passenger was Hugh Williams. Perhaps it is not surprising that 2 ships perished on the same day of the same month in the same sea area. However, when in both cases there is only one survivor, named Hugh Williams, things start to get a little creepier. However, there is more. On December 5, 1860, another, smaller ship sank in the Menai Strait. Of the 25 people on board, only one survived, and once again, his name was Hugh Williams. The following story received first prize in a contest launched by an English daily newspaper for the best coincidence. George Pfeiffer, an American writer living in London, lent a friend the proof of his as-yet unpublished book, The Girl from Petrovka. The proof was read with the correction marks he had made. A week later, the friend informed him that he had lost the proof. The writer was not particularly happy about that, because it meant he had to make all the corrections all over again. 2 years later, when Pfeiffer was in Vienna for the filming of his book, one of the actors told him a very strange story. After the actor was asked to co-star in the film The Girl from Petrovka, he went looking for the book to familiarize himself with the character of the person he was to play. He did not succeed. While waiting for his train on the London Underground, he saw a book lying on a bench. He picked it up and saw to his surprise that it was The Girl from Petrovka, the book he had been searching for all afternoon in vain. He flipped through the book and wondered what all those red marks meant. When he showed it to Pfeiffer, the dumbfounded writer immediately recognized the book as the proof that had been lost 2 years before. We are used to think in terms of cause and effect. But the stories I just told you seem to have another relationship. We call them coincidences, but are they really? I promised to tell you about Carl Gustav Jung. He was a world-renowned psychologist who felt that coincidences were worthy of serious investigation. Jung discovered that some events seem to be related by time and meaning, rather than by cause and effect. He called this synchronicity. People experience synchronicity when two separate, seemingly unrelated events are connected in a meaningful way. One of Jung's own experiences was related to a patient who was telling him about her dream. Her dream was about an golden Egyptian scarab beetle. As she was describing her dream, he heard an insect flying against his window. When Jung went over to investigate, he discovered it was a scarab beetle. Jung believed that the insect's visit to his office during a therapy session with the young woman was not a coincidence at all. According to Jung, while the two incidents appeared to be unrelated, they were inextricably linked by synchronicity. Jung tells us to give attention to these coincidences, because they might try to tell you something important. So, if you had an experience like this, a coincidence that didn't really feel like a coincidence, please share your story in the comments below.